And now the third and final part of building these rotating cards in the tours section. So this is what the back part looks like. It's just the text saying only $297, and then down here one of these white buttons, which we already have. So we have one single box that is all of this content here, which I'm calling the call to action box, which is nicely centered vertically and horizontally inside of the card. So that shouldn't be all too hard, right? So the back part. So the CTA, so call to action box, which is easier to write. And actually I forgot the card block name here, of course, that needs to be here. And so what do we have in here? So we should also have a small box for the price. So where we say the only and then the $297. So a box for both these things. So let's call it card price box, very simple. And then simply the only. So I will make this a paragraph, okay, because it's just a word of text. So card price only. So only, and then another paragraph, card price value. So these may sound like a bit weird names. Well, it's not really easy to find all these names for all these elements we have in our interfaces. So we have the card price box, and then after that we have the button, remember? So we have an A element with the class button and pointing to nowhere, and it says book now. All right, and remember that we had I think two type of buttons. Let me check that out actually. So we had the button and the white button, okay? There will probably be a green one sometime, but okay, for now we have the white one. So I should also add here the button white. And actually it's two for the modifier, so button white in here. So card CTA contains all of this. So let's now style card CTA. So front side styling, just to keep this nicely organized here. So card CTA. And remember, we're going to position it with absolute positioning. So position, absolute, and then our center method. Remember how that works? So top, we move it 50% down. Left, we move it 50% of the parent's elements width to the left. And then we transform it back to the exact center. So translate minus 50%, and this time of the width of the element, not the parent, and 50% of the height as well, minus 50% to put it back up. So the exact same thing as we did in the header. Let's just quickly check that out before we move on. Well, something is not working 100%. Well, now it's on the other side, so it's a bit difficult to check it out. Okay, but we can still see it here. It's like invisible, but I see what's going on here. It's here. So there's a small mistake. Okay, and that should fix it. Now moving on, we have the price box. And we also have the price only. And the price value. Okay, the price value should be really big. Remember that one? So let's put it to 6 rem. And then really a thin text. So font weight 100. Because usually when we have really huge text, it looks better when we then make it really thin instead of just leaving it like a big and bold text, okay? And then the only part can be quite small actually. So font size 1.4 rem. And to uppercase. So let's take a look right now. All right, so that looks quite cool actually already. We just have to center this here, make the text white, and then add some margin here. Okay, and for that the price box is perfect because it contains these two, price only and price value, right? And so we can do text align center here. We can set a margin to the bottom of 8 rem, and we can also set a color to white here, because remember the other elements will then inherit this property. So color white, and we should be good to go. Then there's only one problem left to fix, which is this button here, but I think I know why that is. So let me actually inspect this. But first of all, let me do something. So this is the back side of the card. If we remove this rotate here, okay, then we can actually manipulate this. So what you're seeing here is that the button is adapting to the width of this CTA box here, okay? And that's why then the text is broken up into lines. So all we have to do is to really give this some width, and then that should eventually fix it, okay? So CTA, just give it some width. Maybe not 100%, but like 90%. That should be okay. So I also noticed that here is an error. So price, somehow I wrote prince, okay. But now I believe that it's okay. Well, still not really, because it's now not centered. That's also an easy fix. We just have to make text align center here, and we can actually copy that from here. So that should work now. All right, so really nice. So that was easier. Now all we have to do is to actually create the other two cards and then put the green button in here. So these are the other two cards. Let me show them to you. So it says 497 on the back, 897 on the back, this one, and on the front they look like this. So what I want you to do is to now go ahead and actually build these cards by yourself. I think I already gave you the colors. Yeah, I did. I know I did. And so you're ready to actually do this all by yourself. Well, except maybe for the images. So you don't have the names of the images, so let me give them to you. So it's here. So I can give you the images of the backgrounds. They are simply called 6 and 7, okay? So then all you have to do is to change the color names here. So this is the text here. Go ahead and copy it, and I'll see you back here in a second. So I hope you managed to make it work. So I'm now really quickly going to do it as well here, okay? So one column here, and actually I don't think it's all of this. So we want this column. So I can copy all of this in this way. Oh, and actually I already have the columns here. So sorry about that. Let's just copy the card then. Give it some space. There's only one R. So the forest hiker. 7, 40, and 6. And it's medium. And it also costs $4.97. And of course, it's picture 2, span 2, and back 2. And now the same thing down here. The Snow Adventurer, and it's a 5-day tour, up to 15, 3 sleep in provided tents again. And this one is hard, and so it's more expensive, $8.97. All right, and now in the CSS, so we have number 2 and 3. So here it's the green one is the primary, and this is the tertiary. The same thing here. And of course this one here. And finally, well, where's the other one? Ah, okay, yeah, it was up here. And finally the tertiary color. And let's hope that it works now. And it does. So this is my version here. It's not the original version. So here we go. This is exactly it. So 3 cards, all rotating, all looking amazing. Now all there's left to do actually is to put this button here. Okay, so let's do that. And that's the final thing we have to do in this section. So right here after the row, I believe that's the row. So right here after the row, it's where we're gonna put it then. And how should we do it? Well, remember that the button is centered and that it has some margin between the cards and the button. And so this is actually a similar case to this heading that we have here going on. So we simply put a div here, then we had some helper classes which helped us. And that's what we're gonna do now. So let me just copy that and put it here. So we want this to be centered. Of course, no H2 here this time, but instead is an anchor link. So a dot button, pointing to nowhere again. And in here, discover all tours. So this would lead to some page where all the tours are listed, but which we don't have in our project, of course. And for example, then on this page here, there could be all of the available tours, and then we could reuse all of these cards here. And so that's why we did them as components, right? Now, this here is for margin bottom big, but we want something for margin to the top. So let's add another helper class, so another utility. And let's simply call it margin top. Why not? Margin top. And so this way we don't have to create a whole new style just to position this button where we want it to be, okay? Okay, actually we have to say that it's a green button. And I think we don't have it already. I think it's only the white one that we have. And yeah, it seems so. So, green. And here it's called color primary, because that's our green color. And so that should work now already. Let's check it out. And yeah, here we go. There's just one thing that we have to change, which is the color, which is not gray dark in here in the green one, but here it's actually white. And the rest should be perfect. So let's close it. Close this one as well. And so yeah. So here we go. That's it. It's the title, it's the boxes, and it's the button. Oh, and now we said we should fix this huge space here, so let's finish with that. So maybe 15 is enough on the bottom. And yeah, so that looks good. Now just this space here seems to be a bigger than this one here. While in fact it's also 80 pixels, but I guess it looks different because of the shadow here. So it gives us a different impression. So let's change the big one here to, or let's actually create a new one. Why not? So we are more consistent this way. So one is called huge, and huge has 10 rem. So we want a huge margin for the top. And then finally, one thing that I noticed here is that these corners here are no longer round. And that actually happens because of the clip path property that we used here. So this clip path in Google Chrome, it breaks the overflow that we set for that. So remember, we actually set the overflow hidden so that these corners that are overflowing the parent element are actually hidden. But for some reason, when we then use the clip path here on that very image, then the overflow no longer works. So we have to now set this manually, but that's not a big deal. So border top left radius 3 pixels, border top right. And this should be the final line of code of this. Let's check out how many lines we wrote. Well, actually not 200, but 160, but still not so bad. If you put that together with the HTML, it's probably like 300 lines of code. All right, and so now the cards are finalized. You see that the borders are now back to being rounded. And yeah, it's overall a very nice design. And this was, once again, very great progress for you. Lots of new tools for you, lots of stuff to think about. And that is the whole point of this course.